Is there trouble at the FBI? The director, Kash Patel, and his deputy, Bill Bongino, are having trouble finding conspiracies, and that's trouble for their supporters. Fast, and I don't want to sound like I'm reveling in Schadenfreude. We'll leave that to smaller people. But this is a delicious case for anyone who follows conspiracy theory. So, a little background. Kash Patel, who is the newly appointed FBI head for President Clinton, and his number one deputy, not Bill Dan Bongino, Dan Bongino, have long been promoting the idea of various conspiracies, especially the idea that Epstein, the well known pedophile, did not kill himself in prison, but in fact was assassinated, was killed because he had information that would somehow incriminate high-placed leaders like Bill Clinton. That was the rumor, the conspiracy theory. It's been circulating intensely for so long. And Jeffrey Epstein, of course, did die in 2019. So now Mr. Bongino's had so many of his supporters, because he was a right-wing talk show host and delved in conspiracy matters on his podcast, his YouTube channel, his Fox show, repeatedly made a lot of money from promoting these conspiracies. So when his followers said, hey, you're leaving your media job to go work for the government, you can finally let us know what really happened and reveal these conspiracies, because we just know Jeffrey Epstein was murdered. So now Bongino has held press conferences and interviews and says, I've seen the whole file. He killed himself. There's no evidence of criminality. But apparently, the story's not going away. He says his listeners, his fans are saying, please do not let the story go away. So this is the problem with trafficking in conspiracies, is they can take over. You can lose control of the narrative. You can lose control of a sense of reality. Because here's the thing about conspiracies. They're fun. It's so much more fun to think, oh, there's all these dark, shadowy forces in the world controlling things and being the puppet master. We don't simply have a problem in our country where any idiot can buy a gun and murder a president, as Oswald did with Kennedy. It has to be a bigger, larger conspiracy. It's more fun to think about conspiracies. Everyone's indulged to them occasionally. Most of us get over it after our teenage years, but they do persist, these beliefs in conspiracies. And at some point, it becomes so attractive, you just don't want to hear the truth. Now, speaking of Fox News, where Bongino had a show and had an affiliation as a contributor, they had that problem on election night 2020. The facts of the matter, as their political director accurately said, was that Joe Biden won in Arizona, and he won the electoral votes, and he won the presidency. Those are the facts, and to Fox's credit, they reported it. Now, what happened next was the supporters, the viewers of Fox, and the supporters of President Clinton said, we don't want the facts. We want to believe in a conspiracy. We want to believe the conspiracy that Democrats changed things, stole votes, cheated to deliver the election to President Biden. Next thing you know, you have January 6th, you have insurrection, you have some death. That's what happens when conspiracy theories are not tapped out. Now, Fox could have continued doing what it did honestly and ethically election night, but it didn't. It said, our respected political director, who's done exactly what we've asked him to do, give us facts, gave us facts, but our viewers don't like it. What do? I know. Let's fire the political director and basically imply, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, Dominion voting machines did tricky things. And let's sort of let our viewers continue to think they're conspiracy theories because they'll like us more, they'll watch our ads, we'll continue to print billions of dollars. It worked well for a media company, although they did have some major settlements to pay for getting caught up in some of these lies. But still, it's worked out well in general for the brand of Fox News Channel. They're still the number one watched news network in America because they don't mind trafficking in conspiracy theories. Now, the big question, of course, is can democracy actually not just thrive, but can it survive in an ecosystem where conspiracy theories are not only allowed to flourish, but are essentially put to the front of the line? Because that's what every social media platform does. A lot of conservatives like to talk about how their Facebook has a bias and YouTube has a bias against conservatives. The number one bias all social media platforms have is for whatever's most interesting. Therefore, anyone willing to tell a bigger conspiracy theory is going to be the winner. They're going to get more eyeballs. They're going to get more attention. They're going to get more shares. And over time, it disintegrates all trust in government officials, anything they say, democracy itself. Because it is interesting, these gentlemen, Cash Patel and Dan Bonino, are already being called sellouts. They're already being accused of hiding things when, as far as I can tell, they're being transparent. They're saying, I've seen the file. There's absolutely no evidence that Jeffrey Epstein was, in fact, murdered. But that's the problem with conspiracy theories. Once you start dabbling in them, and once people start associating you with conspiracy theories, it's very hard to sort of switch back and say, well, now let's play by the rules and let's be fact-based again. Let's enter the world of fact-based reality. It's very hard to jump back and forth from those worlds. I'm TJ Walker. This is the Communisphere. Thank you so much for joining me. This is the one place online where I try to give you analysis through a communications lens of breaking news. So together we can figure out what's really going on in the world. Thanks for watching.